I'm 24 years old, I live in California, and I've completely stopped going out. And before any assumptions are made, no, it's not because of social anxiety or because I'm a boring person. To be honest, I feel like I've already lived the extreme version of nightlife that most people spend in their 20s chasing. My version of partying was not just bars on the weekend, it was sketchy house parties, using every day, and a world that went way past normal fun. I started way too young and I saw the ugliest side of that life. And it took me to rock bottom, and it forced me to rebuild my entire life from zero. I've been sober for a while now, and because of that, I feel like I see things with a clarity I just didn't have before. The reason I don't go out isn't me judging anyone. It's a choice that makes sense for me, based on my past and what I want for my future and what I'm trying to build. For me, that world represents a trade-off that just doesn't feel worth it anymore. If you're in your 20s and ever had that quiet feeling that you'd rather be doing something else than being in a loud bar every weekend, I hope my story might resonate. There's nothing wrong with that feeling. It is not just in your head. Studies show that Gen Z drinks about 20% less than millennials. And it seems to be a part of a bigger shift where people are more aware of their health. For me, it felt like I was starting to wake up from a nightmare. So stick with me and I'll explain why it stopped being fun for me and how I realized it was a threat to the life that I wanted to build and what I started doing instead to create a life I don't feel like I have to escape from. And for a young guy trying to build something from the ground up, especially with my history, the whole going out scene started to feel like a dangerous distraction. This isn't just about my personal experience either. There's a widely reported loneliness epidemic happening, and surveys have found that 15% of men say they have no close friends at all, which is a 5-fold increase from 1990. After I got sober and moved here, I still gave nightlife a fair shot. I went out twice and didn't drink. That's it. And what I saw confirmed everything I'd already learned the hard way. From my perspective, it felt less about actually connecting with people and more like a really expensive and exhausting performance. So I completely just tapped out for good. And once you've lived that extreme version of partying and addiction and actually made it back, there is no more casual going out. For me, it doesn't feel harmless. It feels like standing at a doorway of life that I barely escaped. I realized that for me, the whole experience pulled me back in 4 specific ways. There was a financial cost, the way it made me feel about myself, the time it consumed, and the unique pressure I felt living in California. I had to see them for what they were before I could feel good about stepping away. So let's get into the financial cost, because this is the most obvious one. This drains your bank account and your potential. I've been on both sides of this, and back when I was in my heavy party phase, I remember nights where I'd spend money I literally did not have, just chasing some feeling I couldn't even describe, only to wake up every other day with that awful dread. And now I see it from the outside. One of the 2 nights I went out in LA, I just sat back and watched people burn through their money, buying drinks for girls trying to impress them and acting like a complete fool. And all I could see was my old self in them, and it was a very painful thing to watch. The whole thing just felt like a setup, and I'm just not willing to be a part of it anymore. Our culture pretty much makes going out the main social activity, and then makes it incredibly expensive. Just look at the numbers for a standard night in a city like LA. A rideshare round trip could easily be $50 to $60, if not more, and that's without surge pricing. A regular cocktail is like $20 to $22. And that's if you're only drinking. A couple of drinks with tax and tip, that's another $50 gone. And then you're gonna be hungry afterwards, and that's another $15 to $30. So that's well over $100 for one night. And that's a third of my monthly grocery budget. That trade-off is insane to me. That money is the fuel I need to think straight, go to the gym and work on my future, and even make these videos possible. It started to feel like I was being asked to trade real progress for a few hours of distraction. And on top of that, I was paying a coping tax. The life I was living was chaotic and stressful, so I'd pay to escape it on a daily basis. But that escape kept me broke and stuck in the same exact situation that made me want to escape it in the first place. It was literally a hamster wheel. If I could tell my 18-year-old self anything, it'd be that the money you're about to spend trying to impress people who won't even remember you tomorrow, that's the exact money you could use to buy your freedom. Every dollar spent chasing a temporary feeling is a dollar that cannot be invested in yourself. And what I was also paying was my self-respect. And this, in my opinion, was way worse than the money. Being the only sober person in a bar, especially with my history, is a weirdly powerful feeling. I saw everything clearly, and the 2 times I went out here, I felt like I was watching a documentary on people just embarrassing themselves. I saw guys pouring alcohol down their throats just to get enough courage to say hi to someone. I watched conversations where people were just waiting for their turn to talk. All the pride and ego and people starting fights with each other. And it hit me hard because I was that guy. And when I was deep in that using cycle, it wasn't just drinks and loud music. It was bad decisions and harder stuff that almost broke me. I was the one making a fool of myself, starting fights and losing my dignity for a cheap laugh. Seeing it sober from the outside felt like watching a humiliation ritual. and I finally got how degrading that performance was for me. I used to tell myself I was going out to connect with people, but the whole environment seems designed to stop that from happening. The music's so loud you literally have to scream, the conversations feel completely surface level, and it wasn't about who I was, it was about the image I was putting out there and what I had to offer. It felt like a stage where everyone was performing for their social media and it was a personality contest. And everyone's trying to build a highlight reel for the life that they might secretly feel empty in. It was one night I literally watched a guy next to me spend 10 minutes trying to get the perfect picture of his cocktail, all while ignoring the friend sitting right across from him. That's what it started to feel like it was really about. It promised community, but in my experience, it just delivered this weird consumerism and a quiet sense of shame. It's not like I'd ever leave feeling connected, even if I left with other girls. I'd leave with ringing ears and a deep feeling of social emptiness. I'd always get that wave of regret, and not just for the money, but for the person I was pretending to be. I used to think that was confidence, and I now realize it's just a chemical mask that you rent for the night. I've learned over the years that real confidence is having the guts to just be yourself when you're sober and uncomfortable, and everything else is just kind of a rental. So if the financial side kept me broke and the social side made me lose self-respect, the time cost is what kept me from ever moving forward. This wasn't about losing the weekends. I lost years of my life to that heavy party phase. My old life revolved around a cycle of using and recovering. A night out could easily bleed into the next 2 or 3 days, if not a week straight. So I wasn't just tired, my brain was completely foggy, and I was irritable, and my entire life was dictated by that chaos. I was trading away my most valuable asset that we can ever get, which is time, just for a few hours of forgetting my problems. And now weekends are sacred to me. They're when I build the life I almost didn't get to have. Waking up on a Sunday morning clear-headed and getting a head start on my week, that feeling is 10 times better than any party I've ever been to. The trap for me wasn't losing a few hours on a Saturday night, it was the entire cycle. The time I spent planning to use, the time spent getting high, and all the time spent recovering, that cycle consumed all the hours I could have used to build something better. It wasn't about missing a few hours outside of a 9 to 5. I didn't even have that structure to begin with. It was about losing the only time I had to rebuild my life from nothing. And for some people, those weekend hours are the only time that we have to build our own lane and to set ourselves up for real success. I'm not just saving 4 hours on a Saturday now. I'm protecting my entire weekend so I can build a life I don't need to escape from. And when I was deep in that using cycle, I didn't see this trade. I was just trying to survive. And now every weekend feels like a gift and a chance to move forward. But finally, there was this weird, subtle pressure I felt living somewhere like California, especially outside of Los Angeles, where the marketing for a certain kind of life literally never stops. I moved to California to build a new life. I'm blessed to have that opportunity, and I was able to focus on my goals and my health. But there was a part of me that did feel this pressure, this little voice saying I should want the postcard version of LA. The exclusive parties, the whole scene, the whole influencer bullshit. And it really took me going out those 2 times to realize the dream that they sell you is not my dream at all. For someone with my history, it is a financial and spiritual nightmare that just happens to be wearing designer clothes. In California, especially LA, can feel like a stage. A lot of it feels fake, and some parts of LA straight up feel demonic if I'm gonna be honest. It's always selling a lifestyle of non-stop spending and social climbing. I see it on Instagram, in the movies, on TikTok. And people out here try to sell this fantasy where fulfillment is at the bottom of a $22 cocktail on some rooftop I can't even really afford, surrounded by people I don't really know, who are all just trying to get something from each other. And for a while, I almost had lifestyle FOMO. I was like, had a fear that I was missing out on something that I now see is mostly an illusion. It made me feel like if I'd rather stay in and read a book or work on my own thing, I was boring or wasting my youth. The real cost for me was feeling like I was the weird one for not wanting to play a game I knew was rigged against me. The truth that I've found is that most people who seem to be living that life are often the most trapped of them all. Deciding not to play doesn't make you lame. For me, it means I'm being intentional with my life. I would trade 1,000 nights at some local club for one evening watching the sunset at the beach with my girl and working on my business. That costs $0 and it actually leaves me feeling full instead of empty. The real California dream for me is not about impressing strangers. It's having the financial and mental freedom to actually enjoy the opportunity of this place on my own terms. So I know I sounded like I just shitted on all that stuff. I do get the appeal of going out, and I'm not shitting on anyone who does it. Like I said, I ain't judging nobody. But what are the alternatives? Well, I want to say I didn't just become a hermit who stares at the wall or some shit. I just stopped playing a game that wasn't designed for me and started creating my own. I traded blacked out Saturdays for mornings that actually meant something to me. So here's what my life looks like now. First, I got brutally honest about where I was at and the real cost, and this is before getting clean. And nowadays I see what that old life truly cost me, and not just in dollars, but in the lost years, health, and potential that I wasted. And second, this is the most important part. I built my life around structure. That's how I operate, and I do very well with structure when I create my own terms and my own boundaries for myself. My weekends and my whole life used to be chaos, and now they're extremely calm. I wake up on Saturday around 8 a.m. naturally. No alarm, no hangover. I drink my coffee, and I'm in the gym by 9. And by 11 a.m. I'm showered and at my desk, making these videos or working on other skills to build my income. And by 2 p.m. on a Saturday, I've already done more for my future than I used to do in an entire weekend, or hell, even an entire year. That feeling is a different kind of power. It's quiet, it's calm, and it's real. This isn't just about being productive. Every one of these structured weekends is an investment in my freedom. That $100 I'm out blowing off at the bar is another $100 going into investing, building a freedom fund so I have the opportunity later on to live a life on my own terms. And for me, I just realized I don't need the weekend escape anymore, because I've been finally building a life I don't want to escape from. And my social life didn't disappear either, it just got real. I have a partner who is on the same mission as me. We cook dinner together after a late workout on a Friday night. That's how I like to spend mine. We go on actual dates. We go hiking in the mornings. Find a cool little coffee shop. We take late night drives on the coast or chill at the beach at night. That's a connection you can't find screaming over music in a bar. I'd rather have one quiet night on the couch with someone who actually wants me to win than a room full of strangers who will forget my name by the morning. And one thing I did notice is that the friends I have today, a lot of them are older than me. I do have trouble finding people closer to my age who are thinking this way. But they are out there, they do exist. And I still have a couple friends who are my age and who are on the same type of wavelength. And those are the people I choose to surround myself with. And finally, my definition of fun just completely changed over time as I got clean. Fun isn't the enemy. Mindless escapism was. I have more real fun now than I ever did before. I have tons of fun going to the gym, getting into a creative flow state while working on the videos or working on my business, or even just grinding Minecraft for a few hours getting gameplay for the channel. That stuff fills me up. And when I do fun stuff around California, because there's so much cool shit to do out here outside of LA, it's just like I get such a dopamine rush from it, and it's amazing. Fun for me now is an activity that just adds to my life, not one I have to recover from for 3 days. We're planning more trips this year, paid with the cash I didn't have to waste on overpriced drinks. That's my kind of fun. Let me just be as real as I can be. If you've ever felt this way, you are not boring or lame for not wanting to go out. This is just my story, and you might be in a different season of your life, and that's perfectly fine. This is just what makes sense for me now, given where I've been and what my mission is going forward. For me, it feels like I'm building a life I don't need to numb myself from. I haven't felt that way in almost 3 years now. I'm choosing self-respect over getting a little validation from strangers. And I'm trading short-term distraction for long-term freedom. I used to think I was behind for not wanting what everyone else seemed to want. Now I realize that once you've been to the places I've been, there's no going back to casual fun. The trade-off is just way too clear to me now. A hazy Sunday morning filled with mystery regrets, or a clear-headed Saturday morning where my feet are already on the ground moving forward. A lot of people might not reevaluate this stuff until they're in their 30s. And that's okay. They might wake up one day and realize they burned through a decade and all they have to show for it is debt and a few fading stories. It's not about being ahead or behind. It's about being on my own path. And in the game of life, I think being on your own path is the only real advantage you can have. If this resonated with you, like and subscribe and leave a comment below about your experience with this. I'm on a mission building this channel and community for like-minded people who want to execute on their goals and achieve freedom in their life. I'm showing y'all what that looks like in real time, and I'm going to be showing what it's like to fail in public as well. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So as always, if you made it this far, I appreciate y'all, and peace out.